So good morning. I'm Evaldas Rupkus, and I am a media information and literacy trainer, author, and project manager. And I also welcome our online viewers who have joined our live stream. So, and we also here have several fans and people who are very much into media information literacy, who are waving to you from Barcelona. So today I would like to share a bit of my insights because in the last around 16 years maybe, needed to count shortly because I'm coming to an age where I am able to say that, well, I've been last time in Barcelona 20 years ago, and and it is indeed for somebody who has been young recently, at least officially, a big thing. So my background a bit, I have started as a radio host when I was 10 in a very small local radio station in the very north of Lithuania, hosting every weekend morning show for children and youth. And that was also my start of my connection to information, to journalism also a bit, and then somehow we launched a youth organization that was working on journalistic topics, became Regional Youth Council president, then went to Lithuanian Youth Council, worked for Eurodesk, consulted ERYICA, and now in the last 8 years I have been working in Germany, first of all in the topic area of e-participation, digital participation, and youth in the national agency. And now in the last 4 years I've been working in the Germany's International Media Development Center, which is called DW Akademie. So it's part of the Deutsche Welle, or DW International Public Service Broadcaster of Germany. So today, however, I will try to put all of this, what has happened at least in my life and in front of my eyes in the last 16, 15 years, and we'll try to share some insights with you, also with our viewers, on what is trending, what I think is important to consider when we talk about media and information literacy. And I liked today already how Agnes said literacies. So I hear that there has been some discussion here in the last week here in this room. So I'm happy that you're already on that level and you're already seeing also this very complex field. Because just a short stating the ground for how I see media information literacy or literacies. It comes back mainly to the UNESCO's composite concept of media and information literacy. And here, of course, you most probably know of all the different kinds of literacies, starting with a basic one, but then I find it more interestingly and particularly important for youth work is the a bit more exotic literacies that are maybe not self-explanatory from the first sight when you think about MIL, which is the cultural diversity, and behind that you also have interreligious and intercultural dialogues, narratives, how they are being showcased in media, for example, but then also very important for those who are still at school or in formal education, library literacy, how do I research, and so on. So all of these aspects I understand as part of MIL. And to make it more complicated, together with Salto a couple of years ago, where I was also invited to join the advisory board for media and information literacy and participation, we came up to those 18 topic areas that I think are also maybe giving even a broader picture, a more detailed picture of what's hiding behind this composite concept, which might be partially also a bit out of date, because maybe you would add more things on, for example, interactive media, or we could discuss about, you know, some aspects being maybe not so obvious or not deserving to be a separate thematic area as, for example, extortion. But I think in the field of youth work, we can allow that ourselves and we can really see the world as it is for young people and where the focus lies. Because one of the issues that I see in the field is that when we're trying to explain what we're doing and when we're trying to say what MIL is about, we come down to very burning topics, to the global ones. And of course, now, particularly in the last couple of years, in the wake of infodemic, now in the wake of war in Europe, we are always coming down to information distortion, which includes disinfo, misinfo, malinfo, and this is only part of it. As we can see, we maybe put it more under the news literacy or information literacy, but then we also have a huge bunch of other important aspects that are also need to be part of the picture, particularly when we're working with young people. And now let me share some trends that I observe. So it's based totally on my work in recent years. So of course, first of all, we need to think about that what is happening right now very close to us and also makes a huge effect on our work. So it's the war and continuing crisis, because starting of the COVID, most probably we find ourselves in this continuation of different huge, partially also catastrophic events going around the world and now even in Europe. So that's a topic that now is coming up, and I'm sure that maybe Maria can later on also help us to get an even broader picture on that. Is, for me, at least in this field, a bit of a new term, information security, which is also very closely connected to strategic communication, so to how are we securing our information environment. And then of course disinfo campaigns, and here particularly where I work now, because we work in over 50 countries worldwide, mainly emerging and developing world, we are now really looking for something better than fact-checking. So we are really trying to break our heads around the topic of how can we innovate the field of approaching disinfo. And it is really a very big and still open question, so I really invite you to think together with us. I know that some, so I'm Lithuanian by birth, and I am very close to what is happening in the eastern part of Europe. But working now in Germany and being from the German perspective, I do get sometimes different perspectives and also some people not agreeing with the German foreign policy, or also considering this to be not very consequent. But still, I think that the heart of youth work, and particularly international youth work, lies in peace building, in bringing people from different countries, different nations, including those that are now running wars, and particularly thinking about the future. And these will be the tasks that the field of youth work will need to encounter and will need to approach. Maybe we should already start thinking about it now. In any case, we need to be very sensitive now how we are communicating about those conflicts that are there. And also to see how maybe we can be a bit more conscious about the polarization that is happening, particularly in the media, because of the war actions. And then I do work also a bit with the topic of journalists in exile. So flight and migration is for sure one of the bigger consequences of any conflict and also any catastrophe, be it climate change or also now war. So this has already a clear impact on how we are working, whom we are approaching, on our target audiences and their needs, particularly now Ukrainian youths, and how can we help them and how can we cater their information and also development needs. And then in a broader sense, not talking only about the war, but of course particularly because of that, but also happening already since several years, is a very high psychological tension in, for many young people who are now just, you know, they want to start their nice life, they want to maybe travel, and then they get 2 years of lockdown, and now they get sometimes travel ban because they just cannot leave Ukraine because they're over 18 and male and might need to go to fight for their country. So these topics are also now relevant, and they are also directly connected, particularly from the perspective of digital hygiene, for example, with media and information literacy. So another thing that maybe is not so present and not so much discussed is the interaction between digital rights and media and information literacy. So in Europe, we thought that we are somehow safe from that, but in countries where we work, for example, Myanmar, we see a lot of internet lockdowns, we see censorship. If you don't need to look very far away, that happens already in Europe too. Mass surveillance being one of the issues, and then of course, all of that can be packed under the so-called digital authoritarianism. Yes, so if it's a very early morning for you, try that one and see how that works. Yes, so how these aspects are changing the internet governance environment that we have created until now, and also how can we maybe contribute to the legal regulation of platforms, to also in general legal regulation of media, because there has been some discussion about banning, for example, the Russian state channels in Europe. But there is more to that. So these topics are also directly interlinked because media and information literacy is directly connected with political action. And of course, one of the bigger monsters for many young people is the technology and how quickly and swiftly it develops, and how intensely it also changes the way how we are working. However, my presentation is also called Keep Calm and Go On Doing Your Thing, because I do believe that most of the youth workers are on the level where they have the basic skill set that's needed for this work. And it doesn't matter if it was yesterday Snapchat, today TikTok, and tomorrow Metaverse. Still, there are some basics, there are some things that only you as a trained, as a professional youth worker know and can guide your user, client, young person whom you are supporting in this journey. Because there is, of course, this stereotype that young people know it better, but we see it also from now lately from the report of the EU expert group that was working on how to tackle disinfo and digital literacy. They said themselves that this is only one of another myths, and young people do think that maybe sometimes because they also see their parents who are maybe not so tech savvy. However, in the behavior we do observe many different, or let's put it in other words, we observe that, you know, the behavior is still not that conscious how we would like it to be. But there are some things that I really would like us to start thinking about, and better sooner than later, when most of the monopoly will be shared or occupied. So one bigger trend is the TikTokization of everything, how many young people are ticking. Clearly, video is the king in whatever format you will take. Reading is, you know, not necessarily the priority in the way how people are, or particularly younger people are consuming media. once again, an even shorter attention span. We already had several years ago these discussions, yeah, I can't keep their attention for over 45 minutes. Well, this one now shows that over 8 seconds is already a thing. So here we are talking only about shorter, shorter, and shorter. So in whatever we are doing, we really need to think how we are doing it. And then there is a slight change also in the way how people are interacting with social media, because so far you would normally see things that you follow. So the algorithm understands from your behavior, okay, so you like that, then I'll show you this, and that's how it works. In the TikTok, it's not necessarily that way. There is more of a black box of an algorithm, and you don't need to follow to get the videos shown to you. So these are also aspects for us if we are trying to reach young people. How do I do it if they don't even, follow different accounts? So if they won't follow me, so how do I get to their timeline? How do I get to their stream? And next to all of those literacies that I've already presented at the very start, I think that we also need to add data and algorithm literacies, so to get a bit more conscious on how algorithms work, and also then change our behavior and how do they impact us as citizens, as people, and data, of course, on how is the data being collected? So just in general, which I think is quite interlinked. Metaverse has been a very big word lately. What maybe we could think from our end, because of course we normally don't have these resources in youth field to innovate this kind of a technological development. However, we can be in it and we can be part of it, and we can already start thinking how, for example, in terms of remote education or also on digital youth work, this will change how we are dealing. So how can we become part of Metaverse and establish an open youth service over there, or youth information center, or a school that is teaching remotely using the VR. And of course, then in general, there will be even more issues coming up, because you know how Metaverse works. It uses avatars that can be shaped, and it creates, of course, a much stronger psychological and cognitive feeling when you can create yourself in a 3D and not only in your picture, and you have yourself in the way as you would like to be, but not as you are. So that will cause also many mental health aspects, I think, in our work that we'll need to address. Yeah, and then since we're in the technology, why not to talk about the technology itself? And one of the biggest trends, of course, is the AI itself. I'm not sure, are you seeing well? Okay. Let me just then help you with that one. Better? Oh, okay, sorry, I haven't seen it before. So yeah, most probably you know these 3 things, but just in general for all of us to think about it and to consider particularly the aspect of automatically generated text, because it works already quite well, and it gets harder and harder to discern what's human created and what's AI created. So we do also discuss in our organization on how can we approach this. And I think this needs also a bigger community to find the solutions and answers. How can we really approach the more or less indefinite generation of disinfo that is coming towards us? Because most of the disinfo campaigns have changed totally from 0 to 100 if you compare it how it worked in Cold War, where the main strategy was to limit the access to information. And now we have this totally different approach where people are just flooded by information, so you just get lost and you start to doubt anything you see. In this presentation I was struggling a bit to find the visuals, so I just thought, okay, so why not to see what the AI can offer us. So all of the illustrations that you can see are actually AI generated up to the infographic of UNESCO, of course, because it's actually not that well in working with texts on pictures that you'll see on the closing slide. But for example, text to image is for sure also another thing. Here, for example, on the left you can see I was looking for a Dali style oil painting that shows robots pretending to be humans. So, and that's what I got from the Dali generator. Video thing still is expensive and hard to make it in the way that you can really not say anymore whether it's human or AI made. So here we can maybe be calm for a year, but I do think that this can have, of course, even a bigger impact. You most probably know about the case when Mr. Zelensky's speech to people to disarm and not fight was also deep faked. So these are, the impacts of AI generated content. All right, and just a short overview. I know that you all are coming from different MIL projects, so you do it yourselves, you know about the formats, but since today we really want to start thinking, so what are the next steps? What can I do? What I would like to do? Maybe this will inspire you to either do it as it is or think about something else. So here I'll just do a little wrap up of that. So we have already quite some young journalist projects, so where young journalists are working on different formats and creating the content, which is most probably one of the easiest ways for youth workers to approach the topic of MIL. So for example, there is a project in Armenia running where young people are just feeding Wikipedia with their own researched texts, and this helps. Or for example, in Latin America, we also have many projects like that. So indigenous languages can also get some presence on this quite important platform to find the background information on many different topics. Then we, of course, you can do workshops, you can do media creation marathons, camps, you can do YouTubers, schools, academies of fact checkers, mill clubs working through a set of curricula. So, and this is most probably maybe the most, one of the biggest trends in both formal and non-formal education, just in different ways. That curricula development is more or less the way how to approach MIL in formal education, so that because of the complexity of the field, there is, a one semester, as for example in Estonia, or as we also were able to start it in Moldova or Cambodia or Palestinian territories, curriculas that can be taken as either separate school subjects or integrated in existing school subjects. And then there are already some MOOCs also created by UN and other partners, or e-learning platforms. And now recently there is also quite a bit of video production. So for example, we also had, until the coup, we had a TV show in like a soap opera in Myanmar, where in between, during the soap opera action, which you all know, it's always the same, just different brother loving the different sister and so on. So in that way, we integrated MIL competences, so that suddenly the grandma came and said, oh, I got this phishing message. Of course, she didn't say it that way, but and then the younger person explained, and that became, of course, part of the plot of the series. And then maybe more interesting for the field of youth work are the different games. So we have also plenty of those. Maybe it would be nice to have them somewhere more accessible and a bit also more open source way, so we can really translate them and really take and use in other fields and in different languages. board games or live action role plays, also have seen several of those, and then hackathons for creating tools, so tools for verification, for content creation, and different kinds. So I was thinking, what could we take out of this all, and what could maybe facilitate our thinking on partnerships, on future projects, and on what's still to be done in the field of MIL, at least from my perspective. So first of all, you already have heard Alexandra's input on the gaps. You have seen now also the composite concept, and maybe you can also consider what you think is still a bit less covered. So Salto a couple of years ago has conducted also research of just comparing in a matrix based on those topics that you have seen, how many educational tools, for example, we have for each topic. And of course, you'll be quite right if you'll say that the fake news and disinfo will be on the place number 1. So maybe we really don't need to develop so many tools in that direction, even though it is a very burning topic. But maybe we could also look into something that is more uncovered. And then one of the bigger challenges, and you have been also approaching this, so how can we sell ourselves in the way that we don't overcomplicate things, but also in the way that we don't oversimplify what we are, because we are quite big and we are quite good, and we should also stay that way. But we really need to think about the way how we are communicating ourselves. So as I say, make MIL sexy again. Don't know if ever it has been, but in any case, just to find a way, and let's think about that together, how we could do it. And of course, here we are in Salto participation and information, so no participation without information. And the same is about the model of media information literacy. It is cool to know how to create content. It is cool to know how to know what's right, what's not, but it doesn't end there. It goes further. It goes in the direction of enabling participation, of enabling our voices and giving us tools how to raise those voices in a respectful and also responsible manner. So also always try to find this way of participation in your project. Maybe good start would be just to start from co-creation with young people on board of the project idea. Okay, I'll do both so I don't need to bend anymore. So second last, trends. So how can you work on existing challenges and address future developments at the same time? So together with Agne, we have been working in several projects on the future foresight in youth work, and it is, well, quite a topic. And this is something that I really wish to see in more happening in our field and in our projects, that we don't only react, oh, there is a refugee crisis, well, what did you expect? Or, wow, unemployment came up. Yes, this will happen next year. I can tell you already now today, because we are approaching a huge economical crisis. So we can start already working on that, because there are some cycles that are happening, particularly in the field of youth. In the last 15 years, I have lived in the way where EU would finance either unemployment issues or participation issues, so depending on which kind of crisis are we having. So either it's the left, right wing, or is it the economical crisis? So, but there is of course more. So particularly for us, operationally working, so we can use some of the methods. I'll share with you also some links on how this can be done. But particularly when we work on media information literacy, we can consider those trends that I've presented to you, and you of course know of even more, and you feel the needs of the groups that you're working with, and you can see what's needed now, but also how to do it in the way that we can still stay relevant in a couple of years. And then one of the bigger issues, and I'm sure that people who are here from academia will support me in that, is how do we measure whether we are good or not? okay, now we all are being celebrated that we do media information literacy, because it is, of course, very much needed. We see how dangerous it is when societies are being manipulated, but this will not last long. So there will be a moment when budgets will need to be shortened, and where the youth workers will stand and will need to prove that they are doing something important again. So as always, because in still some of the countries we are in a need to prove that we are contributing something, and we are really doing a change, and not only formal education does that. So let's start collecting arguments. Let's do it always in each of our steps, and particularly media information literacy. It is, by definition, educational. It is then automatically also something that is rather long-term investment. But let's think how we can establish some indicators maybe. Maybe we can have a look at developmental aid, how they are working. So this is what DW Academy is mainly finding itself in between, that we also do these things in developing world, and we need to prove that the interventions that we're doing are really meaningful. And then maybe this is also a way how we could approach it in the field of youth. So here you can see what happens when you write two smiling carrots thanking each other and saying thank you, and then the DALI is not able to spell the thank, but well, at least that's two nice little carrots that are thanking for you. And thank you very much for your attention. I thank also those who listen to me on the live stream. I will be looking forward to your comments and also to your ideas, so please do share it on the platforms that are offered, and hope to see you very soon again. So the live stream is